Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles and from the Big Apple in New York City, welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, along with my lovely co-host Adrienne Gruberg at the Caregiver Space in Manhattan, coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio and podcast networks. In fact, we're proud to be voted #1 Caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM and #3 on FeedSpot out of thousands. And we do have an especially exciting show planned for you today, don't we, Adrienne?
We sure do.
She's right. You've seen Dr. Marc Siegel all over the media this past year. He's one of the great authorities on COVID-19. He's a physician, a professor of medicine at NYU Langone, I hope I pronounced that right, Medical Center. That's just down the block from you, Adrienne. An author of multiple books.
All over the city.
Yeah. An author of multiple books and a contributor for Fox News Network. And I met Dr. Siegel at an essential medical conference in Atlanta, just to let you know, a few months ago. We had a chance to chat. I showed him my book. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver. He thumbed through it and he says, "Wow, you wrote this?" He says, "You should come on my show." I said, "I will, and you should come on my show." He said, "I will," and here he is. Dr. Siegel, welcome to the Caregiver Dave Show. We're so excited to have you on.
Thank you, David. Always a great pleasure to talk to you, and it was great to see you at the conference.
Yes. Now, I know you only have 20 minutes, so I want to get started. I like to ask all my guests, just who is this Dr. Marc Siegel guy, and why was he placed on this earth?
Why was I placed on this earth?
Yeah.
Well, I'm really a writer by training. I did graduate writing way back in the day, and I've written 6 books. The first was a novel about Bellevue. I went to train in medicine at Bellevue so I could write a novel about it. Simon & Schuster published it. I try to abide by the idea that journalism is a form of fiction, and that what you do is you take the world as it is and you look at it at a slight axis, and when you choose a way into a topic, you can cut through the dogma or the mistaken beliefs and get to the truth. And my latest book, I'm working on a new book about heroes in COVID-19, but my latest book is COVID, The Politics of Fear and the Power of Science. And what I did there is I put together my prior fear books, and I said, basically, and it took me months to figure this out, because in the past, David, I had written about fear as permeating health scares, and I explained how fear is a driving force in the human brain that overcomes reason. So we think we're being reasonable, but we're really driven by fear. I was afraid to touch that topic, Adrienne, when it came to COVID, because I thought people are going to say I'm downplaying what's obviously a killer pandemic. But then I realized this. The greater the danger, the greater the fear. So even if it's real, that doesn't mean that there's not hyperbole and hysteria. So I wrote the book based on that.
Wow. Yeah, and that's touching my life, actually, as well, because I have a daughter who's an adult, and she has a high-risk husband, and I haven't seen her in a year, and she's just freaked out about this whole thing. How much fear should we have about this, and how much should we allow it to affect our lives? Such a balancing act.
Well, fear is supposed to be a warning sign against imminent danger. Part of the problem here is everybody's manipulating your fear for certain reason. The media does it for ratings. Politicians do it for votes and control. And a lot of these decisions are made in ways that are inconsistent, which, David and Adrienne, is a clue that it's not real. I mean, if somebody shuts down an indoor restaurant, that makes sense. But if they shut down an outdoor restaurant when there's been no spread, it makes no sense. You know it's a political move going on in Los Angeles if they shut down outdoor restaurants, but there's double the amount of spread going on in government office buildings, for example. I mean, a lot of things are expediency-driven, or vote-driven, or control-driven, or ratings-driven, and all of that has to be factored in if you want to know your own response. I understand your point, David, about your daughter, and I've seen that played out in many households of my patients. There's ways to introduce real science here, though. I mean, I'll give you a way. You know, you figure out. You start by how much virus is in the area you're talking about. How much virus? I mean, here's an example. Look, if they tell you, warning, 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 if the rate of infection is greater than 3%, we shut everything down. Warning, warning. Well, wait a minute. Let's take a pause and look at that 3%. That means that of everyone that thinks they have COVID, 97 out of 100 don't have it. Well, nobody even looks at it that way, right? So
like a batting average.
Right. The fear. Well, I don't like the 3 out of 100 at all, by the way. But the way it's presented is to even forget about the 97%. Or they say we can't be sure if you've had COVID whether you're immune or not, and that gets into everybody's mind as I had COVID, therefore I'm not immune. Well, wait a minute. That's not the scientific reality. The reality is you most likely are immune. But as soon the level of uncertainty that's introduced ramps up the fear and makes everybody feel vulnerable all the time.
Yeah, you know, I just got back from New York because I did another speaking gig out there, and I went to go get my COVID test like I typically do, and now all of a sudden I can't get it the same day. They're saying, "Oh, we're backed up in LA here for over a week."
The rate's very high.
And then some people are telling me, well, it doesn't do any good anyway because the average from the time you're supposedly infected to the time of symptoms, that can be anywhere between 2 days to 14 days. So the average, they say, is about 4 or 5. So what if you're on day 7 and you take the test and it comes up negative? They're saying that doesn't really matter because you can come up positive on day 9, right? So
well, no,
I don't know what to do.
No, that's the uncertainty breeds fear again. You know, they're not using paradigms for other infectious diseases. They're exploiting your fear. The truth is that it's definitely not 14 days. That's an outlier. So don't introduce that outlier into the general equation. It's my science. In other words, if 70% of the people that get COVID are testing positive, assuming that test is good, which it turns out it's better than we thought. That PCR is pretty good, especially if you're symptomatic. But the chances are very, very high that you're going to be positive within 5 days of exposure, not 14 days. So they add that in because they want to do a little CYA and make sure they're not. But so that's the issue is that there's so much dogma in this situation. You know, wear a mask and you're invulnerable. Wear a mask. A mask is as good as a vaccine.
What kind of mask? There's a million kinds of masks they're wearing.
Right. And a mask is not as good as a vaccine. So, you know, what kind of a mask? How well are you wearing it? People seem to think, people don't like wearing masks over their noses, so they wear it over their mouth only. Where's the science behind that? The whole thing. And then they come up to your face with a dirty mask hanging off their nose, and they think they're invulnerable. I mean, we don't have the science to back up the kind of inexactness that's going on right now.
I mean, well, we're right now, everyone's talking about a vaccine right on the horizon. First of all, I wanted to ask you, how much faith do you have in the speed that these pharmaceutical companies have brought this vaccine to market? And also, if it is a good thing, where's the hope? Everything's negative. They're acting like a vaccine is years away. So what's going on with that?
It's a matter of delivery and timing.
Yeah, it needs to be a temperature and this and that. But
the vaccine,
we can see it. It's on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's not on the horizon. It's today. It's going to be out by tomorrow or next week. This is a huge thing. This is not the same thing. The vaccine is an extremely promising discovery. The mRNA vaccines, the ones that are coming out now. Yeah, the ones that are coming out now have been made. Their manufacturing is fast because it's easy to make them. They're state-of-the-art genetic vaccines. They're incredibly effective. We found out they work very, very well, and I think they're safe. The biggest issue is they're going to have minuses. Well, that's all the politics of fear. I mean, Trump has nothing to do with it. You know, but all of these organizations may have a thin layer of politics at the top. The director may be an appointee, but the whole organization itself are lifers. They go through multiple administrations. You know,
Have you
today I
seen-
just interviewed.
Go ahead.
Today I just interviewed Dr. Woodcock of the FDA. She's been there for 15 years. She's the head of therapeutics there. I mean,
Wow.
she's an incredible scientist. It's scientists that are involved in this, not politicians. Politicians are talking about it and creating fear from it.
Well, let's talk about lockdowns. Are they helping? Are they hurting? What's the risk of watching so many Americans lose their jobs and their bosses lose their small companies? Where's the balance?
Extremely disturbing and not based on science. The only science it's based on is Max Kolkoff in 1918, who saw that the Spanish flu was returning to St. Louis, and he looked at that, and he closed down the city in advance of it coming, and his numbers were low. That's where we're basing everything on, Max Kolkoff. The problem is that that's 100 years ago, and it would be nice if we've advanced since then, so that we can understand viruses better and shut down the places that need to be shut down and open the places that need to be open. I mean, you don't need an advanced degree in infectious disease to realize that if somebody comes into a bar at 10 o'clock at night and they're screaming without a mask and there's poor ventilation, that other people in the bar are going to get it. So close those bars. Figure out where the thing is spreading, and what are we doing with all these rallies and protests and mass gatherings? Of course that it's going to spread in places like that. As a country, we've been incredibly stupid about this. But but we're at the same time that we're being in denial, we're also overreacting. We're doing both.
Was there as much politics with the previous viruses that we had, the bird flu, the swine flu, SARS, in your opinion?
All of that was politicized. But the problem is none of them were this devastating. This is a real deal. The problem is we should have been warned. I wrote about that in my book, False Alarm. We should have been warned by our inability to even handle a health scare, how we would do with an actual pandemic. We're not doing well. We're like the worst country in the world. I was saying back in March and April, we have the best healthcare system in the world. Maybe China can't handle this, but we can. Boy, was I wrong about that. This has exposed our inability to work together as a healthcare system, and that the American public doesn't follow basic public health measures. Yeah. Extremely concerning that we can't understand contagion.
And this isn't bad. It could be worse, right? I remember the movie Pandemic, I think it was called, where it was airborne, and if you got it, you immediately were symptomatic, and it was very, very contagious. At least we're thankful that that's not the case, right? That's a real pandemic.
Well, that's science fiction. I mean, you got to go with the word prodrome. I mean, you're not going to die.
Well, they scared us with that movie.
They scare you. That's what they wanted.
Well, they did, obviously they didn't scare people enough into public health compliance, did they?
No.
So what can we learn from other states and or other countries who did it right and who did it wrong?
Well, that's a very, very complicated question. Let's start with the idea that the number one thing you can do to help control the spread of a contagious disease is to cut off travel. And notice I didn't say cut down travel. I said cut off travel.
Yeah.
And that's what Australia did, and that's what New Zealand did. You have to cut off travel. I might have considered closing the interstates and closing the airports, and I'm not kidding.
Is that realistic in this country?
The interstates as well.
Well, you asked how to solve it. I didn't say anything's realistic. I said that's what you would have to do.
I own a gas station, so I'm telling you, there's a lot of people on the road traveling. It started in Mother's Day. I was cut down to 50% March and April, and then Mother's Day, it just started picking up, and I'm kind of normal now as far as the volume.
Yeah, the virus comes in and out of your gas station every day.
It's true.
Gee, thanks a lot.
But it's true, Dave.
Well, that's why we're protected. I give them N95 masks.
Yes.
People criticize me. Say, oh, no, save those for the... Hey, we are the frontline essential workers, when people are coming in, using my restroom, etc. So I don't feel bad about using the N95s. I tried to give some to my local hospital. They only wanted them if they were free. Apparently there's no shortage.
Well, there are some places.
In some places, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Adrian.
I just want to know what your opinion is of how it was handled in New York, because we really did bring it down to make it manageable.
That's another very complicated question, Adrian. New York is a mixed bag. I mean, New York had the USS Comfort, United States Navy ship Comfort here, did absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. We had the Javits Center open for, no, they had the Javits Center made into a field hospital. That worked. That actually took 1,000 patients.
Yes.
Yeah, but why'd they put patients in the nursing homes when they had all these facilities? I don't get that.
I mean, so that was terrible, and I think we've never treated the nursing home situation properly. And I think the nursing homes is like a Kindle for this, because people are sick, they're old, they're living close together. You can't put people with COVID in a nursing home. You do that, everybody in the nursing home gets it. We learned that on the ships at the beginning. So New York ended up doing a good job in terms of shutting everything down. And I'm not talking about stay-at-home orders, because that's very iffy. Everyone thinks stay-at-home orders solve this. Again, that's 1918 medicine. The problem with that is people spread it within their households. So you could say stay-at-home order, but one person goes out and brings it back, and 70% of the spread in New York was within households, even at the stay-at-home. I think it's that we closed everything in New York and destroyed New York City completely, but may never recover. Now Monday we're about to go into close the restaurants again, and you know what my response to that was, guys? I didn't know any of them were open, actually. I mean, have you been to any? I haven't seen any.
Well, on my block,
New York's got them in the sidewalks. You know that. You live there.
I mean,
that's the sidewalks, but it's
outside,
That's outdoor dining. They're not closing that. They're closing indoor dining, but nobody's dining outside at 20 degrees.
I don't know anybody dining indoors unless there's some of these other states in the union. Anyway, my audience, our audience, are burned out caregivers, and I know they'd love to know because we feel that caregiving is an eventuality. Either you're going to become one, you're going to need one, or you actually are one, and it's going to happen eventually to everybody. Have you had any experience with caregiving in your life, Doctor?
Well, tell me what you define caregiving. Of course I have.
Caring for someone who needs care for whatever reason, whether it's a child who has special needs, whether it's a spouse who has cancer or going through chemotherapy. I mean, you know the definition of a caregiver.
We're talking about
family
caregivers versus
unpaid family caregivers, right. If they ever went on strike, Doctor, the whole medical system would come to a screeching halt.
Obviously, as a physician, and I have a thriving medical practice, and I continue to be available 24/7 to many of my patients. And I get texts, and a lot of them have my cell phones, and a lot of them are my friends. And, during the COVID situation, everyone under the sun is texting me, can I get a COVID test? So I have an extended outreach. I have an extended family. It has to do with, my TV network, Fox News. I take care of a lot of the network. My NYU Langone family, my own personal family. I'm a father of 3 children. My daughter's currently in Tacoma. We're FaceTiming 10 times a day. My parents are in Florida now. They're in their 90s. My two sons are here. My wife. So I view. It's funny that you use the word caretaker, and now you understand my pushback. It's how I view life. That we're there to take care of each other. We call it in my faith. We call it mitzvahs. You do a mitzvah for people, and then you don't look to get a mitzvah back. You just do it. You do it. You're there to.
And that's the answer to my first question. What's your purpose in life? Why did God put you here? And you just said it beautifully. Well,
creativity and mitzvah.
I want to respect your time. I appreciate you coming on. I could ask you a whole bunch of other questions, but I know you got to go. Unless you can stay, it's up to you. Anything that you wished I asked you that I didn't?
I want to end by talking about something that's related to what you talked about, which is caregiving, which is the other part of this is leadership. And what is leadership? Yes. It's not a political leader. It's somebody that you trust that has information that you can abide by. And in my own life, it's always been my parents, my father, my mother. They sit on the porch when they were up in New York before they fled the cold and went back to Florida, and I would go there and visit them and have very brief contact. I should have spent more time with them because, again, they're immune. They had COVID. They have somehow recovered from it. And I've talked about that and written about it.
And they didn't even know it?
No, they knew it. But I've written about this in my book. In my new book, COVID, The Politics of Fear, The Power of Science, I talk about the porch stories where I visit them. And they give me a lot of wisdom. My father actually got better with the help of hydroxychloroquine, of all things, and aspirin and zinc and antibiotics. And my mother talked about how, here's a story to end on. My mother said to me on the porch, "You know I had a brother, don't you?" And I said, "No, I forgot about that. What do you mean I had a brother? What brother?" She said, 7 years before I was born, she said, a brother was born before me, and his name was Leonard. I said, I never even knew Leonard. I kind of remember she had a brother. I said, what happened to Leonard? She said, Leonard was 9 months old, and he had bilateral ear infections, mastoiditis. I said, well, that's interesting. In those days, they didn't have antibiotics. What did they do? She said, they put you in the hospital, and they did a surgical procedure, and they drained your ears, and it often saved you, even at 9 months. I said, what happened to Leonard? She said, he couldn't go into the hospital. I said, why? She said, the hospital was full. I said, really? What year was this? And she said, 1918.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stories that are in my book.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my lost Uncle Leonard.
Well, we're
And it's a
excited about your
reminder,
new book.
we're not doing too well these days. We're still back in 1918 in many ways.
In many ways.
The more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Yeah, but we have vaccines now, and this vaccine is going to save us, mark my words.
Hey, we're both coming out with new books. I'm coming out with a new one, Secrets of the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom in Uncommon Times. Excited about that. Tell us about your new book and when it's coming out.
No, it's out. It's been out about a month.
It's out.
I have another one I'm working on now. I'm working on another one now called Heroes of COVID, but the one I'm talking to you about now has been out. It's a compilation of my fear books, my previous book, False Alarm, which was a bestseller in 2005. I took all the fear stuff and I rewrote it, and then I wrote like 120 pages on COVID and the politics of fear and how some of the things I'm telling you on the show today, how politicians use fear. And you mentioned nursing homes in New York. That's one example. The vaccine is in their therapeutics. How leaders have either failed or succeeded as fear leaders in the time of COVID. So I look at COVID as it's galvanized our fears and has brought out the best and the worst in us.
Yeah, and what's the name of it?
That's all in the book, Narrative Stories. It's called COVID, The Politics of Fear and the Power of Science. It's out now.
And they can get it wherever books are sold.
Yeah, and if they're not sold, you can get it on Amazon.
And Dr. Marc...
It is sold on Amazon.
And Dr. Marc Siegel is spelled M-A-R-C and S-I-E-G-E-L, just in case somebody wasn't Jewish and they didn't know. When can we expect your next book? I'm sorry?
Probably about 6 months or so.
And
I'm also working on a novel. I'm always working. Yeah, because I have to finish it. I actually just put in the proposal through my agent. But then,
what's the novel about? I think I want to start reading everything you wrote.
The new novel is not out yet because the new novel.
Your old novel.
My old novel is called Bellevue. It's about Bellevue Hospital and how it would look through the eyes of an intern who doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
So it's not a negative or a positive. It's just a reality-based novel. Yes.
It's a very positive. It's about hallucinatory patients. You know, in the time of HIV.
Bellevue's the mental.
No, but that's the joke. I mean, that's the joke. It's not. It's not a mental hospital. It's a medical hospital, but it has a hallucinatory feel to it.
Well, on that note, is mental illness any worse today? Because we hear so much about it. You know, anytime there's a shooting, our mental illness programs aren't doing well. Is it any worse today than it was, you know, when you wrote that book about Bellevue?
Right now, we're in bad shape because of the pandemic. I'd say it's worse. I'd say the whole society is depressed right now.
So it's causing it. The cure is worse than the thing we're trying to solve.
Yeah, that's the huge message right now. We're not looking at public health in its proper perspective, which is that it's larger than any virus. It's a larger issue than any virus.
Do you have a solution? Are you positive? Are you optimistic about things getting better? Give us some hope.
Well, my solution would be that we comply with public health measures as we wait for the vaccine to take hold, which is about to happen. And I'm very much a believer in these vaccines.
And should we wear any kind of mask or avoid wearing any kind of mask?
Well, keep in mind that cloth masks, even if worn properly, are maybe 20, 30% effective. That surgical masks, those paper ones, are 50 to 60% effective. A KN95s, nobody knows how effective, but they're probably slightly better than the surgical. N95s, if worn properly, are 95% effective, but we need them for the healthcare workers.
Right.
So their
I
attitude
would
is
say,
it's better than nothing. Is that what you're saying?
I would say, no, I'm
It's
giving
not
you
perfect,
advice.
but it's better than nothing?
Either a surgical mask change frequently, or a KN95. That's my advice for the street. And if you're in an area where there's a lot of it, I would say wear a shield too, if there's a lot of it,
And what's the life of a paper mask? How often should we change them?
every couple of days.
Every 2 days. That's assuming we're wearing it like for an 8-hour day?
And wear it over your nose, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Push down on the pinch.
So if
your
we only
nose,
wear it
sure
like
that-
1 hour a day, we can go longer, like a week, 1 hour a day, something like that?
Well, what do you mean 1 hour a day? Where are you the rest of the time?
Well, let's say we're just home the rest of the time. We just go out
Yeah,
to the
okay.
store. Would that work?
Sure, then you can use it. Yeah, okay. Use it once or twice. Change it once
Well,
or twice.
thank
a
you
week.
very, very much. If somebody
I'll
wants
give
to
you my
get a
advice.
hold of you and ask you a question, you got email, what do you want to share?
So my
Twitter,
website is Dr.
Facebook.
Siegel. My website is drsiegel.com, DOCTORSIEGEL.com, drsiegel.com. And my Twitter handle is at Dr. Marc Siegel, at DRMARCSIEGEL. If you go to my website, there's an email there.
All right. And hey, I look
Okay.
forward to being on your show.
You bet.
We'll talk.
I'll have you on. I'll have
God
you on
bless
soon,
you.
David.
Thanks for
Great.
having me.
Same
Bye-bye.
here. Bye, Adrian.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Good job with you. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 Well, that was fun.
Oh, and I didn't wish him a happy Hanukkah.
Oh, I'll tell him you said that. I wished you one, right? You got my
Yes,
my
you
email,
did.
and I spelled
You
it
did. You spelled it right. There
So
are
how-
so many different ways to spell it.
right. Really?
Yes.
So I used the American way, right?
Well, remember that one of the things that you need to know when you're speaking in Yiddish or Hebrew is the ch sound. So
Yeah,
it's
I told my wife that.
Hanukkah.
Somebody on the radio said, and we wish a happy Hanukkah to everyone. I said, because I'm Middle Eastern, I said, she's not pronouncing it right. It's Hanukkah. You got to say it
Exactly.
right.
But
So I'm glad you brought that up.
but it's evolved. Just like Yom Kippur. It's Yom Kippur. It's not Yom Kippur. But, newscasters just say Yom Kippur. Anyway. Not
He
important.
just said it was a great show, and he's going to have me on his show, and I'll text him that you said Happy Hanukkah. All right. So you asked about New York. I went to Rockefeller Center because it was on the way to the
Yes.
medical, the Academy of what is the name of that?
The Academy of Medicine.
Academy of Medicine,
on
which I was at.
103rd Street
Yes.
and 5th Avenue.
And I thought it was interesting how just 1 block away was a very different neighborhood with all of the housing.
The projects.
The projects, yes, as they're
And Mount
most affectionately called.
Mount Sinai Hospital is there.
Yes.
That's
So I'm
my-
wondering, I took a picture
my
of
place.
I took a picture of the tree that De Blasio bought for Rockefeller Center. I think that's the one. And it looked like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. It was missing branches and everything. And then it looked beautiful. How did they fix a tree like that? Do they put fake branches in the bare spots? Do you know anything about that?
Well, they put scaffolding up all around the tree,
And
they've got dozens of people working on it.
maybe I'm
And-
looking at a different tree. Is the tree that De Blasio bought, where does that go?
I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it went in Rockefeller Center, but then I'm
I
thinking, well,
don't
maybe the
believe
Rockefellers
so.
are buying the tree.
Rockefeller Center, I believe, is a whole other thing.
Yeah, and there's more than one tree in the city, obviously, big ones.
Yes.
Okay.
I would imagine de Blasio's tree is near City Hall.
I'd like to see a picture of that one. I want to know how he fixed it, because it was
Let's
sad.
see if I can get down there and take a picture for
Yeah,
you.
please do that. So you do leave your home, huh?
Occasionally. Only to go to the doctor. I had to go today for a COVID test because on Tuesday I'm having cataract surgery on my
Again?
other eye.
On your other eye.
On this eye.
All right.
So they insist that you have the test beforehand.
Yeah.
The
Well, I
surgery
noticed-
is amazing. It takes 15 minutes.
You asked about New York. I noticed that there weren't any restaurants. There were a few restaurants that took us in, and mass, of course.
Of course.
Some were doing indoor dining. Some was not. Private parties, I think, is allowed, but everyone was tested, and they took our
Limits.
names down.
There are
Oh.
certain the
But
number of people
it
that
just
are allowed to be
it
together.
just seemed sad because it's not the same city. People are leaving.
No.
So I say New York is a nice place to visit, but I really wouldn't want to live there because
Right
I
now,
come back.
California's suffering too.
Yes, but we do have the weather. I mean, I came back to a 82-degree sunny day, and I was freezing my butt over there in New York.
Well, when you were here, New York was very cold. Um,
And it snowed the day after I
today,
left, I heard.
today it's 55.
Oh, well, that's a little warmer.
It's a beautiful day. It was nice to be out walking. I
Excuse me, I'm
walked to
choking over here.
I walked across town to have the test. It was nice out.
Well, you got your test?
I had to
Did
have
you have to wait? Did you have to do an appointment? How long did it take you?
an appointment.
How long for the appointment?
How long did I have? I called yesterday for the appointment.
And you got it today?
Yeah,
See?
because
I can't
that's
do that in
the same
California.
place I'm having.
They told me I got to wait a week, and I don't know what to do because I want to get tested.
I'm sorry. They told you have to wait a week to get the test?
They said they checked their appointment. They says everything is full for an entire
Yes,
week. So if I
because
signed
there
up
are so
now,
many people.
right, I won't get it for another week. And so I'm
Hmm.
thinking, well, that's like halfway through the 14-day, and Dr. Siegel says if you're going to get it, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 days. So I'm already on day, when did I get back? I got back on the 10th. 10th? I got back Wednesday, and today is Friday.
Yeah.
I'm only on day 2. So, but I'm just staying home. I'm not really going to the gas station either. And
I mean, when I was on Fire Island and I had to have a test, when I had to cross the bay, and then Northwell Hospital, which happens to, owns an awful lot of facilities.
yeah.
They had a 24-hour facility, and I had a 15-minute test. They took the test. I had the result in 15 minutes. It was amazing.
Up your nose or saliva or what?
Up my nose.
15 minutes? I want one of those.
15 minutes.
Did
Today it was.
Is that because you're
was,
elderly? Are they giving elderly people?
No. I just needed to have the test because of doctor's appointments.
Oh, I see. And Eddie
I was
doesn't need one,
going.
right?
I was
'Cause if
going
you're
to
good,
the
you're good.
pulmonologist and had to have the test.
See.
So
Okay.
and it's like an official stamped document
Mm-hmm.
that you tested
So-
negative and.
So I was wondering about this virus that's coming. The vaccine that's coming out. He says today. I mean, how soon do you want it? He said he's going to take it. He's going to be one of the first ones to take it. Trump said he's going to be one of the first ones to take it, and hopefully that will ease the fears
Why
of a
would
lot of
Trump
people.
need it if he was sick?
He just said he'll take it to show people that he's not afraid of it. I don't know. Why is Dr. Siegel going to take it?
Well, Dr. Siegel's going to take it if he hasn't had it.
I don't think he's had it. Giuliani's had it, and everybody around him has had it, and more and more people are getting it.
Everybody who's been around.
But I don't
in
know
the
anyone
Trump
who has
circle.
died from it. Do you know anyone who has died personally?
Yes.
Elderly? With
No.
other medical issues?
No.
So,
Dad.
did you answer the question? Are you going to take it as soon as it's available for you
No.
in New York? And what are
No.
your reasons? What are your reasons?
Well, I have comorbidity, pre-existing conditions, and I want to wait and see what the allergic reaction is, and Just give it a little time.
Yeah. How much
I'm
time
not
is comfortable for you? A year? 6 months? 2 years?
maybe 6 months. It depends on
Are you
maybe
allergic
3 months. I mean,
things?
what?
Are you allergic to things?
Everything.
Medications, penicillin, and all that kind
No,
of stuff?
everything that's airborne.
Hmm.
Dust,
Yeah, I'm allergic to dust. And
mites,
cat hair.
dust mites, cat hair.
All right,
Can't be around it.
join the club. So how about the holidays? What's your plans for Christmas? Since they say we're not
My
supposed to have
tree
one.
is up.
You have
Um,
Hanukkah bush?
I mean, Eddie's not Jewish,
So
so
it is an official Christmas tree.
I have this an
Is
official
it as
Christmas
tall
tree.
as your ceiling? You have a pretty
Oh
tall
no,
ceiling.
it's not. It's on a counter. It's 3 feet
What's the
high.
Jewish term for that? A minch or something? How do you say short in Yiddish?
Short?
Short, small. Don't you have a word for that?
A mensch? A
Mensch.
mensch?
What's a
No, a
mensch?
mensch is somebody who's a good human being.
Oh. Well, I was really off on that one, wasn't I?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
small? I,
So,
I'm not sure.
well,
Gigunda is,
yeah.
it's one thing, but it's big. But
So I got a little
another,
behind in posting my syndicated radio shows because after 3 months I'm allowed to put them on the network. So I keep sending you them, and I think Victoria Price was one, daughter of Vincent Price. That was a great show.
hmm
And I can't remember who the others are because I can barely remember what I had for breakfast today. But I'm finally came up with, I think, what the cover is going to be on my book, Secrets of the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times. I know you don't like it, but the Americans...
I like uncommon wisdom for uncommon times.
Uncommon Wisdom from... Okay, so you like half of it.
I don't like, I like the old one, but I like
You know what the problem is? You know me, and you love me. And for some strange reason, the people who know me and love me, all my friends and relatives, they prefer the same one you do, the Dave's Hammock Wisdom. Not by a great margin, but, maybe like 60-40. But
okay.
when I give the copies to other people who have friends and relatives who don't know who the heck I am, it's a strange, different response. They prefer by let's just say a 75%, 25%, and maybe even more than that, they prefer the Secrets of the Hammock. No, is that right? Yeah, Secrets of the Hammock. But they do. I mean, we ended up having the same subtitle
It's
for
the
both
same.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that divine thing wasn't flying, and
No.
yeah, which this is good,
Yeah.
So we're trying to get it
I
out.
mean, and the cover worked with the type both ways, so
Yeah,
there was not a
and
problem.
we're moving things around. We're putting my name at the top and putting the title more in the center, and just balancing it more. And then we were told that, the latest books these days, the New York Times bestsellers, they're not using photographs. They're using almost a character of the photograph, an illustration. And for some reason, it's all about fashion, right? If you have an illustrated cover versus a photograph.
A lot of them are just typed now.
Yeah. So, and that's why you have a publisher, because they know these things and I don't.
Depending on the segment that you're trying to reach, it's all demographics and marketing.
Yeah.
Knowing.
Well, I think we're going to end the show because it's a short show, and it's we're in the holiday season, and my accountant wants me to give him some information before not too long, so I've got a deadline. So thank you for coming on a day that we don't normally do this. And
You're welcome.
Did you enjoy Dr. Siegel?
Yes, I did.
He exceeded your expectations, didn't he?
Yes,
A lot of he's a good guy. A lot of people just think because he's associated with a
speaks
certain
the
network,
truth.
it's
He
like
speaks
throw the
the
baby out.
truth.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, people shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. They should have an open
I
mind.
don't.
I'm not saying you do, but a lot of people do. They put everything in a box and they just need to debate. Used to be a class in school, remember?
Yes,
And
of course.
when you have a controversial topic, then you take one side, and convince, show us, prove to us why your side is correct. But I think that's not going on. I see a lot of censorship, but we won't get into that.
See
But
a lot of people
I'm all
getting
for debate.
fired.
Yeah, and not only that, but just bullied, harassed. I just can't get the film out of my mind of people
Pandemic.
sitting
Yeah.
in New York, or wherever they were sitting at an outside dining, and they're just enjoying their lunch, and some guys come up and they throw their stuff on the floor, and they drink their drink and put it back, and come on. We can't have a democracy if things like that
Animals.
are going on. Animals, they're animals. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and
You're welcome.
appreciate it. And you have a happy Hanukkah, and tell Eddie to have a Merry Christmas. And
Well,
with that,
I
will
won't be
say
on next
goodbye.
Tuesday.
Because of your surgery?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to check and see who's going to be sad that you're not on with them. But there'll be other times. You can't hit a home run every single time.
No,
So-
I'm sorry that these things have happened on Tuesdays, but when the doctor's only going to be
I
performing
know, and same thing with
surgeries
me
on
and
Tuesdays,
my foot. It's always on a Tuesday, but fortunately it's
they see
earlier
their
on
patients
Tuesday.
Monday, and then they do their
Ah.
thing on Tuesday, and they do their follow-up on
It's a
Wednesday.
routine. Okay. Well, we'll probably air this show on Tuesday like we normally do. So
Mm-hmm.
it's okay because this will be Tuesday's show. So don't worry about it.
All right.
No. I did schedule someone for Tuesday. We'll have to make
Okay.
this one. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something. But
Okay.
happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
David Nassani.
Dave Nassani.
Dave Nassani.
Mr. Dave Nassani.
Thank you.
So you're needed.
I am needed.
You are very
Yes.
much
I am
needed. And
needed.
kind of one of a kind,
Yes.
right?
Now we speak all over the country in venues like this and on television, and we try to help caregivers stay alive.
The woman I loved had suffered a massive stroke, left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. And in that moment, our world turned upside down.
Everyone is eventually going to become a caregiver, okay? Yes, even attorneys. And everyone needs to learn how to become a caregiver now, not after tragedy strikes.
Well, the first mistake the caregivers make is they don't know how to put their needs first.
Now, the airlines tell us every time we go on an airplane that an oxygen mask will fall. Put your mask on first before you help your loved one with their mask.
Hopelessness. I felt like I was just sentenced to life in caregiver prison with no way out.
Everyone has one of these. It's called a cell phone. You turn it on, you punch in your number. Hello, Mom. I need help. Grandma's driving me crazy. Call your brother, call your sister, call your wife's ex-husband, call anybody to get over that silly notion that if you can't do it all by yourself, you're a failure as a caregiver. I realize there are so many other caregivers out there who are hurting and feeling lost and alone. And I didn't want them to hurt anymore.
This is called Sanford and Son, right? He used undeserved guilt. It went something like this. Oh, it's a big one. No, son, really, it's a big one. Elizabeth, I'm coming to meet you, honey.
She's amazing to watch. She makes us normal people look like whiners and complainers. I mean, she's my hero.
So now I host a popular iTunes podcast, the Caregiver's Caregiver Radio Show. So I even shared the stage with Suzanne Summers at Harvard.
Join our team. If you know someone, tell them to join our team. We want to be your support. We want to love on you.
Dave is an amazing man. I was in tears when I heard his story. He spoke from his heart.
I'm living proof that you can thrive as a caregiver, not just survive. Every caregiver's life is a love story. Let me help you make that love story one of hope and triumph. Thank you very much. Anytime we suffer loss, we grieve. And a lot of people don't realize what even the grief process is. But it could be 5 to 7 steps ranging from denial, I don't believe this is happening, anger, oh my gosh, I'm so upset this is happening, to a form of bargaining, how can I get out of this, to depression, which is a very serious thing because that often leads to suicide. And then finally, after you realize you have no more control over your situation and you're totally okay with the new normal that it brings, that wonderful, wonderful place called acceptance.
Dave Nassani, the caregiver's caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver, on sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.